What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Going to talk some more heavyweight boxing. It seems to be the subject of the month. And shout out to a subscriber that sent me an article. They actually sent this article to me that I'm going to discuss before. It was right before the fight between Whyte and Lucas Brown. And it really, man, it has really opened my eyes to why a lot of people, some people in the UK, believe what they do. And in this article, it basically acts, it's written as if it used the same facts that we all know occurred and write it in a way where it makes it look like Deontay Wilder is the one ducking Anthony Joshua. It is one of the best pieces of spin work, blatant examples of spinning the truth and flipping the truth on his head that I've seen in a while, man. And I want to thanks to the subscriber that forwarded this to me. Now, then also I'm going to discuss Whyte and Lucas Brown and what this means for Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Now, but first, definitely going to do a live stream later today. Had a terrific live stream last night after the bout between Whyte, or yesterday afternoon, early evening here, after the fight between Whyte and Lucas Brown. And the best way to participate in those are to hit this subscribe and the bell icon, and that way you can be notified of when they're going to happen, because I don't schedule them out on a regular basis. I just do it whenever I can get it fitted in, and that's how that works. So the best way to know that is to hit to subscribe and hit the bell icon. So with that said, let me go through this article and then discuss it. This comes from the Sunday Express out of the UK. Deontay Wilder to snub Anthony Joshua. WBC champ could miss Joseph Parker bout. Exclusive. Deontay Wilder is considering turning down the chance to watch Anthony Joshua versus Joseph Parker from ringside. Wilder and Joshua appear on a collision course and are expected to fight at some point in the next 18 months. However, negotiations are understood to have been difficult between the two camps, with the purse split already proving a stumbling block to making the fight. And now, Express Sport understands that Wilder could snub the Joshua Parker fight on March 31st, which would see the two men compete for the WBA, IBF, and WBO heavyweight world title. WBC champion Wilder holds the only other belt and is understood to be considering a U-turn on his plans for the Easter weekend, a move that could deal a blow to efforts to get him in the ring with Joshua. Just 3 weeks ago, Wilder first announced that he would head to Principality Stadium for the bout, a promise on which he now appears ready to renege. I am looking forward to Cardiff. I've been there 3 times, Wilder said last month. I have a lot of friends in the UK. I'm going to enjoy myself and look forward to fighting the winner if they are up to the test. I'll defend my title anywhere in the world. I believe in giving people a chance to stay in their hometown. Wilder is unbeaten in 40 professional fights and has held 7 successful defenses of his WBC crown. But his most recent fight was by far his most impressive, as an American overcame the unbeaten Luis Ortiz by 10th round knockout, having been rocked during the middle rounds. If Joshua overcomes WBO champion Parker in Cardiff, the pair will be on course for a bout that will unify the heavyweight division. However, the Brit warned Joshua that his overinflated self-worth, he demanded £5 million from promoter Eddie Hearn to fight the #1 challenger, Whyte, could see him talk himself out of a unification bout. If he was serious about the fight, we do a serious negotiation. If not, stop hooting and hollering because we'll just freeze him out, Joshua said. We're in the position where I've still got a great top 10 challengers I can compete with. He's in position where the broadcasters aren't interested in Wilder against Joe Blogs anymore. I know where I am with my career. If he wants to be part of this and jump on the train and come to the UK, he has to be realistic and stop living in a fantasy. That is all we are saying. Just be realistic in negotiations. Wilder representatives failed to respond to a request for comment on his presence at the Joshua versus Parker fight. So, as you can see, the way that this article bends this is that the issue with, first of all, they say that Deontay Wilder demanded £5 million to fight Dillian Whyte. £5 million from promoter to fight number one challenger Dillian Whyte as an example of Wilder's overinflated self-worth. Now, we all know, or at least people that have paid attention to what's going on, that Deontay Wilder didn't ask for any money to fight Dillian Whyte. What Deontay Wilder said in the press was that if he would be willing to fight Dillian Whyte, if Eddie Hearn agreed in the contract, that means the next fight would be with Anthony Joshua. Also, he said that he would be willing to take any purse split if after he beats Anthony Joshua would be willing to take the same split. Now, those are talks that take place in the media. Those are not talks that actually took place at a negotiation table. Shelly Finkel, who's the manager for Deontay Wilder, held press conferences where he showed the documentation and the letters that were exchanged between Eddie Hearn and himself, where he said the last time that they had spoken was on November 29th, where Eddie Hearn promised to send profit and loss statements about the original fight to Shelly Finkel, and he never heard from Shelly Finkel again. Shelly Finkel never heard from Eddie Hearn again. And on top of that, he said that after that, Eddie Hearn says, "Look, I can't negotiate with Shelly Winkle because he doesn't get the deal done fast enough. I need somebody like I'll work with Al Heyman. I won't work with the people that Deontay Wilder sent to me or asked me to work with." So the whole article is just it's absolutely a joke. Number one, and besides the thing that I mentioned, they used the negotiations between. The nice little trick they play here is that they talked about the overinflated sense of self-worth for Deontay Wilder in his negotiations for a fight with Dillian Whyte, not a demand that he made for Anthony Joshua. Now, clearly this is it's a Deontay Wilder hit piece. I understand that. That's a UK one-sided viewpoint filled with a bunch of half-cocked and easily disputed or debunked statements. But it does tell you the mindset of people in the media and how they're willing pretty much to buy whatever type of nonsense is said to them. And I remember one time that I did before I had this channel, and when I was reading, because I've been a boxing fan for a very long time, I sent a note to an author about a statement that he made about Gennady Golovkin, and I think comparing him to Andre Ward. And I can't remember what I said, but I was like, "Look, what you're saying makes no sense." And he responded to me, and he said, "There's only two times where I've sent notes to journalists where they responded to me. One was Marcus Vieira, excuse me, I'm probably killing his name, who now does work on Seconds Out and all that stuff. And it was when his articles first started coming out. When he first started, he's a very nice guy, man. Sent me a note, said, "Thank you very much for the notes you sent me." And so I've always kind of been, partial to him a good bit. And this guy who said, "Look, I got paid to write that article. So I got paid to write that article. I'm just doing the promotion for the fight." So this in a conversation with me, this particular author of this article which was kind of a hit piece on Andre Ward, admitted that he was part of the promotion of the fight. And see, it's when people play that write articles like this that things get, just people start believing whatever because it's like, they should have been forced to put paid advertisement on the front of this thing before when they published it. It should have said paid advertisement, like you see on YouTube pages where you see a commercial being played over a video and they say paid. This is paid content, so that you're not really reading a serious news article. You're reading an advertisement, and what this was an advertisement for Anthony Joshua in a hit piece on Deontay Wilder. Now, as to the subject of whether Deontay Wilder needs to go to the UK or not, hey, I'm kind of split on that now. Because I've done videos before, and after this Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, the Dillian Whyte, Lucas Brown fight, it's just more and more clear. First of all, that fight, I didn't talk about that fight at all. At all. I didn't do a single video on Dillian Whyte versus Lucas Brown. Not positive about it, not negative about it. And I did it because it was a foregone conclusion to me what was going to happen. I couldn't tell you whether the fight was going to go the distance or whether it was not going to go the distance, but I knew pretty much that I thought it was a tomato can fight. And I didn't want to go out there and disrespect Lucas Brown before the fight and just, totally crap on the fight. But when Lucas Brown got in the ring, he had this dude looked like, it was just a terrible, it looked like an ESPN, second fight in when you set up, somebody you're trying to make a champion against a journeyman. In this case, an aged, moderately, aging, former steroid abusing, novice. That's what Lucas Brown looked like. Lucas Brown looked like a novice. He looked like the guy, the quintessential, cab driver. He had no pop on his punch. I don't know where this power was that he's supposed to have, because he didn't seem like he had much. And I don't really know what to make of Dillian Whyte. In his performance, Dillian Whyte looked much stronger. He looked much stronger. He looked a lot quicker. He looked a lot more skilled. Dude just had a lot more on his punches, and he got Lucas Brown out of there. But honestly, I don't think Lucas Brown would have got out of the ring I think Jarrell Miller would have done the same thing. And Jarrell Miller is not the hardest hitting cat in the world, but I think Jarrell Miller would have done the same thing to Lucas Brown. It was just not a competitive fight. And I don't think that it said anything really about Dillian Whyte, other than Dillian Whyte looked like he came in better shape than he did against Helenius and Malcolm Tan. I think Malcolm Tan is was the fight before that, where he just, but this is like the Malcolm Tan fight. This is what this looked like. It's looked like the Malcolm Tan fight. And honestly, man, the Malcolm Tan, I don't think that Lucas Brown looked much better in this fight than Malcolm Tan looked in the fight against Dillian Whyte. So this was a look good fight. I don't know how in the world HBO picked this fight up. That had no business being HBO putting this fight on. And shout out to the Bison Clinic and more, who talked about the fact that they passed on Deverenchenko versus Demetrius Andrade, but they found the money in their budget to take on Dillian Whyte, have Dillian Whyte and Lucas Brown. I've said this along. This is what I do believe is an attempt to get Eddie Hearn and to get Anthony Joshua to go over by HBO. And if that happens, I don't think that that's going to turn out well for anybody. I don't think it's going to turn out well for anybody. But I know Eddie Hearn really wants Dillian Whyte to fight Deontay Wilder. And I did videos on it. This has been part of the plan for Eddie Hearn since probably before the Vladimir Klitschko fight, but the one that I first heard, a plan that I first heard enunciated, or not enunciated, that I first heard him talk about about 5 days after the fight between Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua, where he said that the real fight that Anthony Joshua wants is Dillian Whyte. The real fight that Anthony Joshua wants is Dillian Whyte. So is that the end game here? Is to get and Anthony and Eddie Hearn has been trying to push off Dillian Whyte onto Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder doesn't want the Dillian fight, no matter what this particular article says. He doesn't want it. He said he doesn't want this fight unless Anthony Joshua signed up for it. I'm certainly hoping the WBC doesn't allow this type of nonsense to go on. Where, I mean, they've got Dillian Whyte at the number one contender spot, but with the WBC, that doesn't mean that they're going to make him as mandatory. But if he's fighting on HBO, Anthony Joshua's fighting on HBO, and then you're going to have Jarrell Miller over there on HBO, how's the Deontay Wilder fight going to happen with any of them? Unless it's way down the road, which is what I think that, this milking project is all about. But as it goes, as it concerns to whether or not Deontay Wilder should go and for this, little setup move, right? Because we know what the end game is. The end game or at least the next step for this is Eddie Hearn wants to set up a fight with Dillian Whyte. So like other people said, Blood Boxing said and made a great point. You're going to have maybe Deontay Wilder shouldn't go to the UK and just should stay in the United States and should fight whoever it is that he has to fight or whoever he picks to fight and just build his own name and stay away from all this nonsense that's going on. If what's going to happen when Deontay Wilder goes over there is he's going to get, asked a bunch of questions about whether or not he's going to fight Dillian Whyte, right? Whether or not he's going to fight Dillian Whyte and have Dillian Whyte jump him in his face for cameras and do all of that type of stuff, right? Which it seems like that's more than likely to happen. More likely to happen than Anthony Joshua ever looking him in the face. Because as you know, Anthony Joshua said that he's not going to let him in the ring. So Deontay Wilder goes overseas, calls the fight for Sky Sports, and then Dillian Whyte, instead of him being able to face off with the guy that everybody wants to see him fight, if you're not from the UK and you want to see Anthony Joshua in with Tyson Fury, if that's not the person you want to see him fight, more than likely, and you're not somebody that's just, one of those dudes, right, who just don't want to see the fight at all, if you want to see, that's the fight that most people want to see, is Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua won't let him in the ring, right, because there's no contract signed. But he's going to get walked up on by Dillian Whyte, and all the cameras are going to be there to see that. The cameras will be there to see Dillian Whyte calling out Deontay Wilder. And then the narrative is going to be that they're already trying to set up that Deontay Wilder is ducking and dodging Dillian Whyte. So my mind has been changed on this with this absolutely ridiculous article being one where you can see the tone that at least that article is setting. Where they're acting is they're writing it and doing it in a tone like Deontay Wilder's asking for unreasonable things in the proposed fight with Dillian Whyte, where they mention a Dillian Whyte fight in the middle of all this nonsense, and then they justify the nonsense that Anthony Joshua's talking about when he says, we just want realistic negotiations, when he's not negotiating at all. He's not negotiating at all. And he does have a reason to not negotiate at this particular second. I will acknowledge that. Because he's fighting Joseph Parker. But there have been no negotiations. And the calls have not been returned by Anthony Joshua's camp to Deontay Wilder's camp. But then on top of it, the guy throws out there the ultimate sin in my mind. Or not the ultimate sin, but the major issue. Is that if he keeps yapping and asking for a fight, we'll just freeze him out. What kind of boxer talks about freezing out another fighter and preventing him from getting fights? A spoiled, pompous, arrogant one. And that's what Anthony Joshua's looking like. And if that's the case, then Deontay Wilder might need to stay home. He might need to stay home, fight whoever it is you have to fight, and build your name in the United States, and they'll eventually come. And that's with that, I'm out. Peace.